Alright, welcome to lesson number 2. This is video 2 of 3 for your very first vocabulary additional assessment. There are 20 words in this video, and remember that there will be 60 words overall that you need to learn. Alright, let's get started. So for your very first word, we are looking at reprove, which is a verb. So to scold, to find fault with. In a sentence, we see the dog was reproved for his eating of the shoe. I hate when dogs do that. It's awful. So, reproved, reproving, reprove, since it is a verb, it can change in tense. And ultimately, it means to scold. Alright, so our next word is pessimism, which is a noun. Gloominess, a belief that the bad guys always win. So in a sentence, we see the television show Daria, fantastic show, centers around a teenage girl who is pessimistic about school, her family, and ultimately life altogether. Bummer. So pessimistic is the adjective version of pessimism. So if you want to use it as a noun, we have pessimism. If you want to use it as an adjective, you have pessimistic. Of course, this is the opposite of the word optimism and optimistic. All right, so for our next word, we have cursory, which is an adjective. Hasty, not thorough. And in our sentence, we see the adjective in the following way. Lainey gave a cursory glance through her notes before the test, but knew that it would not get her any closer to an A. Yes, that's not the appropriate time to study for a test. So cursory means hasty, oftentimes rushed, and therefore not sufficient in order to achieve what you want to achieve. All right, so next word is profligate. So with profligate, it is an adjective, extremely wasteful, wildly extravagant. So here we have a profligate consumer of energy. The hovercats must charge themselves with a significant amount of electricity daily in order to remain airborne. Yes, it's a very wasteful use of energy, even though it looks amazing. So here we have it as an adjective, and essentially it's probably a word that we're not really familiar with, but just understand that it means to use some type of resource in a really kind of unnecessary, trivial, over-the-top manner. All right, so for our next word, we have miser, which is a noun, and it is someone who hoards money. So we have Scrooge was a true miser who refused to use his money on anything, including the things he wanted and even the things he needed. So there's other words that kind of mean this, like thrifty, being kind of scrupulous. So here, though, with a miser does not spend a lot of money, but also it's important to know with a miser, they don't give money, such as for charity. So they kind of hoard their fortune for themselves, but don't really use it. So that is a miser. All right, so next word is jocular, which is an adjective, and it means joking. So the flapjack octopus, who's just adorable, is a jocular creature who loved to tell jokes about pancakes because, you know, flapjacks, pancakes, it's a pun. All right, so jocular essentially means joking. A lot of times jocular is used to describe kind of people prone to laughter and happiness, who their kind of joy is contagious. So jocular is an excellent word for that. All right, next we have fracas, which is a noun for uproar or brawl. And it's a really cool word. It's much more fun than saying fighting. Fracas, it just sounds like what it means. So after a minor disagreement, Spike found himself in a fracas in the hallways of an airport. They were promptly escorted off the premises because that's not a very good place to have a fracas. So just know that fracas is kind of a really intense fight, a brawl, usually involving a lot of people. Fracas. All right, so our next word is caricature, which is also a noun, a satiric portrait or representation. So we might be familiar with this word. This is a pretty creepy caricature. So the caricature emphasizes hairy arms and creepy dancing in order to make the audience laugh. So caricature is a satirical tool, and while this is a vocabulary word that you're going to learn here, it's also going to be a literary term that we learn later on. Depending on when you watch this video, maybe you've already learned it. But yeah, so a caricature is kind of a satirical depiction of a person. All right, so next word is corroborate, which is a verb. A lot of times we hear the word corroborate with corroborate evidence, the corroborated evidence. So you might be familiar with it. But the word means to confirm. So if you say corroborating evidence, it's evidence that confirms something that was already suspected. So if we look at this sentence, after much deliberation, Mary and Pippin corroborated that second breakfast was a critical meal for a healthy day. So Mary and Pippin had a discussion, and then they confirm an idea that was already suspected. All right, so since corroborate is a verb, it can take multiple tenses. All right, next word is precarious, which is an adjective, which means dangerously unstable. So a lot of times we hear the pairing of words with precarious situation. This is a very precarious situation. This situation is advancing precariously, if you want to use it as an adverb. And in this sentence, we see Stan decided that the precarious bridge was the only way to get to the island. However, it was unclear if it could support the weight of his truck. So we can see how unstable this bridge is, and therefore it's quite precarious. So while this bridge is literally unstable, do know that it can also be a figurative unstable. So unstable situations can be unstable because there's a lot of people who disagree and a lot of moving parts. So it doesn't always have to be an actual structure that's unstable. All right, so our next word is expository, which is an adjective and essentially means explanatory. They sound really similar. So the expository speech provided the students with all of the information that they needed for the test. However, the teacher spoke so quickly that they struggled to record all of the information. So just know when you hear something that's expository, the expository text, the expository speech, the expository lecture, the meaning of expository is essentially something that has the purpose to explain. All right, cool. So expository directions, they're directions that intend to explain something. All right, the next word is bolster, which is a verb, and it means to support or to prop up. So after a tough day at work, Lewis ate some Nutella to bolster his spirits. So bolster can actually mean to kind of like bolster a wall so that it doesn't fall. So it could be something very practical, but you can also bolster someone's emotions, bolster their spirits, and that essentially means to make them feel better. You can also, there's something called a bolster pillow, which is kind of those roundish pillows that you put under your neck, and it's because it provides support to your neck or your back. So bolster can be used in a lot of different ways. All right, next word is daunt, which I really like this word. It's a verb. So with the word daunt, it means to intimidate or to discourage. So oftentimes daunt is used in the form of daunting. What's interesting is that while daunt is a verb, daunting is an adjective. So daunting is describing something as intimidating, while daunt is a verb. So while you might say the desert daunted the travelers, which means to intimidate, here we see it as an adjective. Even though Lucinda was starving, the immense desert made the idea of eating at Denny's very daunting, and we can see how it's a descriptor here. So it's a really cool word in the fact that you can use it as an adjective or a noun. All right, so next word is inclined, which is an adjective, tending towards one direction. So even though Mary was able to get her little lambs home, the sheeps were more inclined to stay in the field. So essentially inclined, or an inclination, is someone's tendency, kind of their natural desire, what they're most likely to do. So with inclined, that is an adjective. Inclination is going to be the noun verb of that adjective. So you might say, I had an inclination to take a nap, because you tend more towards sleepiness. All right, so next word is uniform, which is an adjective. So constant without variety. And that picture hurts my eyes. I hope it's not hurting you too. Sorry about that. All right, so while the kittens were uniform in size, the colors of their fur were vibrant and unpredictable. So uniform means consistent and common. You wear uniforms to school, so everyone has this same type of outfit on. So that's a uniform. All right, so while this is uniform in size, that is an adjective. If you used it as a noun, they wore uniforms. That's the noun version of it, but those things, while they're connected, aren't exactly synonymous. All right, So next, perceptive is an adjective, having keen understanding, discerning. So perceptive, rather, when looking upon his friend Patrick, SpongeBob perceived that his friend was hiding a great deal of sadness. So perceptive is an adjective. She was perceptive, he was perceptive, they were perceptive. However, here we use it as a verb. So this word can be used in multiple ways, where SpongeBob is perceiving that his friend is hiding sadness, even though I would say that Patrick's not doing a very good job hiding it. So do know that you can use this word as an adjective, as a verb, and it can even be used as a noun, perception, which is a thing. So you have perceptive, perceived, and perception. So lots of different ways to use this word. Alright, so next we have superficial, which is an adjective, shallow, on the surface only. So superficial is used in a couple different ways. So here we say Regina George could at times seem friendly and caring, but those traits were merely superficial. In reality, she could be very ruthless. So here superficial has connotations of lies and being fake, and tricking people in order to get something that you want. So that would go along more with the idea of on the surface. So her kindness is on the surface, and deep down she's not a very kind person. However, superficial can also mean shallow, such as in a superficial wound. So if you get a little cut on your arm, for instance, and it's shallow, that's a superficial wound. So that's another way that superficial can be used. All right, next word is lucid. So it's an adjective, clear, easy to understand. So here we say the lucid dream that Maria describes left her friends in awe of her magical imagination. So here lucid, it means clear, it means easy to understand. She has dreams that she seems like reality, and she remembers really vividly. Lucid is also oftentimes used for instance, if someone has Alzheimer's or some form of dementia. So if they become lucid, that means they've moved from kind of the state where they have trouble remembering things to suddenly being able to remember things. So people can become lucid, they can have lucid dreams. You can have a lucid song, which has a very clear message, but lucid is oftentimes considered as the opposite of obscure, which is another word that you've had in a previous video. Alright, so next word is immune, which is an adjective, safe from harm, protected. So here we have Jake the dog loved dancing, but he sometimes looked like a fool. Luckily, he's immune to embarrassment, so he kept dancing anyway. So here, immune means he is safe from the judgment of others, and he's going to dance his heart out no matter what they say. Immune is often, again, used in a medical as a medical term when you develop immunity to some kind of virus or bacteria. So immune is the adjective, but immunity is going to be the noun. Alright, so next word is aesthetic, adjective, concerned with art or beauty. So here we have the audience found the painting aesthetically pleasing due to its balance of color and contrasting textures. So aesthetically pleasing, here we have aesthetic was an adjective. Aesthetically is still think an adjective, it might be the adverb rather. And so it's the idea that it is pleasing based upon its artistic nature, or its beautiful nature. Alright, so aesthetically pleasing is the way that we commonly hear that. Alright, so those are your words. Again, go ahead and make sure to access those practice slides that you can kind of use as flashcards, or you can make your own flashcards if you don't want to use those. But remember, the practice slides have fill-in-the-blank sentences that you can use to help yourself with your word recall. Alright, good luck with the assessment. Thanks for watching this video. Bye.